Everyone, if I'm audible, visible properly, please let me know. Great. The students are joining. We will start in a minute. Hello, good morning, and welcome to Unacademy. Welcome to Lecture 2 on Indian polity. Yesterday, we discussed why Indian polity is important for the civil services exam. To master Indian polity, what is the strategy required? What are the books that you need to follow? Then we looked at in Indian polity, what exactly do we need to cover? First, constitution. Second, the laws passed by the parliament. And third, various Supreme Court judgments. And then we looked at what is a constitution. Constitution is a document of people's faith and aspirations. And I gave multiple definitions of constitution. Then constitution can also be either written or unwritten. But we will have to emphasize on whether a constitution is unitary or federal. And I told you yesterday, we will keep this topic open. We will keep this concept open so that throughout the course on Indian polity, I will tell you that this particular feature of Indian constitution is biased in favor of a strong center. This particular feature of constitution is a genuinely federal principle. Clear? But you have understood what is a unitary and federal constitution, right? Then we looked at the doctrine of, or should we say the theory of separation of powers, which is attributed to French philosopher Montesquieu, where Montesquieu said that powers of the state should be divided into or separated into and given to three different organs: legislature, executive, judiciary. Clear? And towards the end, I told you about doctrine of checks and balances, but we did not elaborate, and we will start from the doctrine of checks and balances. But there is one thing that I realized later, which I did not tell you. Syllabus is very important for this exam and previous year's question papers. Syllabus would tell you what to study in Indian polity because there is a detailed syllabus provided for GS paper 2, right? But how to approach these topics, for that we need to understand previous year's question papers, how questions have been framed. So what we are going to do in this course, every Saturday, because the classes are conducted from Monday to Saturday, every Saturday, all the topics that we will cover from Monday to Saturday, from these topics, what sort of questions have been asked in the prelims and mains exam, all of them we will discuss one by one on Saturday, so that you're able to understand how questions are framed, so that you can also prepare positively for your upcoming exam whenever you want to take it, whether 24, 25, 26, or never. Is that clear? Perfect. Done. Now let's look at what is this doctrine of checks and balances. Yesterday, I told you that there are three organs of the state. There is legislature, there is executive, there is judiciary. United States said in its constitution that we will ensure that legislature, executive, and judiciary, they are separated from each other in a watertight arrangement, because that was the idea of Montesquieu. So those who are part of the legislature cannot be part of the executive. Those who are part of the executive cannot be part of the judiciary, and vice versa. But not just this. No organ can influence another organ. No organ can take up the role of another organ. There are three things to separation of powers. One, if you are part of the legislature, that means a member of one organ cannot be the member of another organ. Clear? Number one. Number two, one organ cannot influence another organ. That's number two. Third, one organ cannot take up the role of another organ. Three things. And that is how in US Constitution, Articles 1, 2, 3 explicitly provided for separation of powers, where Article 1 created legislature, which is US Congress. Article 2 created a powerful executive in the form of the President of the United States of America. And Article 3 created judicial structure. But at the same time, they realized that this can be a monstrous provision if one organ is allowed to do what if one organ is allowed to do whatever it wants to do, and no other organ is there to keep a check on it. And this is where Constitution of United States provided for the doctrine of checks and balances, where one organ keeps a check on another organ. How? Any law passed by the legislature, because who can pass a law? Only legislature. This power cannot be given to anyone else. This law can be challenged in judiciary on the grounds that it violates the constitution, because in a written constitution, it is the constitution which is supreme. So judiciary in United States will never play the role of the legislature. Members of the judiciary will never play the role of the legislature, will never be part of the legislature. But what they will do, they will keep a check on the legislature. If you violate the constitution, then we will strike down your law. Otherwise, we will not interfere. So keeping a check on one organ. Similarly, executive. Whenever this executive is making rules, or whenever executive is taking some actions, in these cases, either you can challenge these actions before the judiciary and judiciary will strike them down, or the legislature will have the power to impeach the President of the United States of America. And we have had instances where previously Bill Clinton was impeached, but he was not removed from the office, he completed his term. Prior to that, there was, I think, President Jackson or Johnson, who was also removed, who was also impeached, but not removed. And we had the history where Mr. Donald Trump was impeached twice. But even then, he completed his entire term. How's that possible? Can anybody tell me how's that possible? Yes, polity experts. Anyone? Donald Trump, as the President of United States of America, was impeached twice. Despite the fact he was impeached twice, he still completed his term. And the term of the President of the United States of America is 4 years. And for 2 terms, one can become the President of the United States. And that is why Donald Trump is contesting or might contest elections again. And in all likelihood, if he is the Republican candidate, who knows, maybe he may well become the President of the United States again. How did this happen? First, we need to understand why was the president impeached. In first instance, there was an allegation that he allowed foreign countries to interfere in US elections. There was an allegation that in Ukraine, there was a company on which the son of Joe Biden was a director. He had business interest in that company. And basically, Donald Trump is telling the Ukrainian president, investigate the son of Joe Biden. Tell the world that he's involved in corruption. If not, I will stop military aid to you. Which basically means you are forcing foreign countries to interfere the outcome of domestic elections. And that amounts to treason. And treason is one ground on the basis of which the president of the United States can be impeached. But to impeach the president of the United States, for that, the matter has to start with House of Representatives. If House of Representatives impeach the president, that means House of Representatives have the power to impeach the president. That means pass a resolution and vote out the president, impeach the president. But this impeachment will then have to go to Senate. And Senate has to then convict the president. Listen to me carefully. I am the president of the United States of America. I have committed treason, or I'm accused of committing treason. Will I be removed from my office? Yes, I can be. For that, what is the procedure? House of Representatives, which is the lower house of the US Congress, US Parliament, they will have to pass a resolution impeaching me, and I will be impeached. Even if I'm impeached, that does not mean I will have to go out from the office. I will have to leave the office. I'll have to vacate the office. Why? Because my impeachment has to be approved by the Senate, which basically means Senate will have to convict me. In House of Representatives at that time, the Democrats were in the majority, which means the opposition, because in US there are 2 broad political parties, the Democrats and the Republicans. The Republicans are also known as the Grand Old Party, to which Donald Trump belongs. So at that time, Democrats had the majority in House of Representatives, and House of Representatives impeached the president. But then this impeachment, or Donald Trump, had to be convicted by the Senate. But in Senate, Republicans had the majority. So ultimately, Donald Trump could not be convicted, yet he was impeached. But even though he was impeached, but not convicted, that means he could not be removed from his office. He completed his full term. But be that as it may, what we need to understand here is that in separation of powers in United States, together, what they have done, they have included another doctrine called doctrine of checks and balances, wherein one organ can keep a check on another organ, which means one organ will not allow another organ to take arbitrary decisions, to take horrible decisions. That is the doctrine of checks and balances. And similarly, we have the judiciary, which is kept under check by both executive as well as legislature in United States. Who appoints the judges? The executive. Who can remove the judges? Executive, based on the resolution passed by Senate, which is the upper house of US Parliament. This is how Constitution in the United States ensured that despite we will have separation of powers, but we also need to ensure that there is doctrine of checks and balances. For that, what is the definition? Look at the definition. Checks and balances are fundamental elements of constitutional democracy that prevent the unconstrained exercise of power. There has to be constraint. There has to be limitation on the powers available to different organs. For example, I told you yesterday, legislature in US can make a law which is bad, which is immoral. Executive can implement rules which are unfair, unreasonable. Judiciary may punish blacks, but not the whites, so they are arbitrary in their decisions. In that case, can we say that these organs, they have no limitations on their powers? They must have. That means they should be constrained in their powers. And that is how we can improve the quality of decision making. If, for example, I am the teacher at an academy, and you are told that Sarmad sir would teach you all the subjects. Imagine, I am horrible at geography. I don't understand whether it is the earth is round or geoid or what is called oblate, spheroid, whatever these terms are. I can't understand. Now imagine I'm told that you have to teach these poor kids geography as well, history as well, society as well, all the subjects. Will I be able to deliver qualitatively? I won't be. I can still be, but I won't be. Imagine the same system in governance, where there is one organ, and this one organ is allowed to do everything, is given the responsibility to do everything. That means it won't be quality decision making. That is how separate the powers of the state into legislature, executive, judiciary. Not only will it prevent unrestrained power which is given to one institution, it will also improve quality of decision making, and it will also provide that we should have some penalties for unethical behavior. Penalty is, if the executive head of the executive is doing something unconstitutional, treason, the penalty is impeachment. If the judges are doing something unconstitutional, the penalty is removal. If the parliament is doing something immoral, the penalty is that law which is immoral, bad, horrible, is declared unconstitutional. And it is this checks and balance that plays a vital role in maintaining public confidence in political system. Because if the parliament is doing something wrong, I will knock the doors of the court. The courts are independent. They will uphold my fundamental rights. And that is how public confidence can be enhanced. If that is what doctrine of checks and balances is, what is the situation in India? Do we have separation of powers along with checks and balances in India? For that, we need to understand that India, just like England, is a parliamentary democracy. Unlike United States, which is a presidential democracy. And in a parliamentary democracy, council of ministers who are part of the executive, these council of ministers are drawn from legislature. What is separation of powers? A member of one organ cannot be the member of the another organ. That's what separation of powers is. But Mr. Modi is part of the executive. Who is part of the executive? We have president, we have prime minister, we have council of ministers. They are part of the executive. At the state level, we have the governor, we have the chief minister, we have the council of ministers, part of the executive. But Mr. Modi is part of the executive, but he's also part of Lok Sabha, which is legislature. Mr. Amit Shah is part of the executive, but he's also part of the legislature. Srimati Irani is part of the executive, she's also part of the legislature. In fact, you cannot become a minister unless and until you are part of the legislature. The only exception is that today I can be appointed as a minister. I'm neither a member of Lok Sabha nor am I a member of the Rajya Sabha. But can I be appointed as a minister? Yes. But if I'm appointed today as a minister, within 6 months, I have to get myself elected to either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. If I cannot continue as a minister. If I can get myself elected, I will continue as a minister for the term. Which means, long story short, in India, just like in England, you cannot be part of executive unless and until you are part of the legislature. So how can we say we follow separation of powers? We do not follow strict separation of powers, unlike in United States of America. Because in United States of America, it is a presidential democracy. In a presidential democracy, executive is not part of the legislature. President and his secretaries, they are not part of the legislature because there is clear-cut separation of powers. But in a parliamentary democracy, what is a parliamentary democracy? Council of ministers are accountable to Lok Sabha. Why do you think Mr. Modi is in office even now? Because he enjoys confidence in Lok Sabha. Any prime minister, any executive, till the time they command majority in Lok Sabha, not Rajya Sabha. It doesn't matter whether you have majority in Rajya Sabha or not. But you should have majority in Lok Sabha. Why? Because Lok Sabha is directly elected by the people. So parliamentary democracy says council of ministers, including the prime minister, they are accountable to Lok Sabha. As long as you have majority in Lok Sabha, you will continue. And at the same time, since we follow parliamentary democracy, our council of ministers are drawn from legislature. Our council of ministers are picked from legislature. And that is okay because we are a parliamentary democracy. And in a parliamentary democracy, there is no strict separation of powers between the executive and legislature. In fact, our constitution, under directive principles of state policy, under Article 50 of the Constitution, it talks about separation of powers. But it talks about separation of powers between executive and judiciary. Why not between executive and legislature? Because we are a parliamentary democracy, where executive and legislature, they mix, where members of the executive are drawn from legislature. But our constitution says that there shall be separation of powers between executive and judiciary. And we did implement this. When? Close to 1973. The year was 1772. You know what happened on this year? In this year, the office of district collector was created. Who was the governor at that time? Warren Hastings. What was the role of this governor, or what was the role of this collector? Two major roles. One as executive, and the other a judicial role. How? District collector, as the head of that district, his role was to ensure law and order in that district. His role was to ensure that you are a collector. That means, what is your role? Collecting land revenue, collecting revenue. That was your primary purpose. But you were also having another role as a judicial role. And in judicial role, you would also act as a judge, and you will punish those who are violating the laws. You will punish those who are committing crimes. So the same person was having executive powers as well. Same person was having judicial powers as well. And this continued even after independence. Even after independence, this continued. So that this district collector has these powers. And that is why there were people who would say district collector is like a tortoise on which the entire government of India functions. The most important office under government of India. But then the year was 1973. The judicial powers of the district collector were snatched. And these powers were given to district judge. So that now district collector only has an executive role, not a judicial role. That means what we did, we implemented separation of powers, but not between executive and legislature. Why? Because we are a parliamentary democracy. But we implemented separation of powers between executive and judiciary. Why? Because that is what is mentioned in Directive Principles of State Policy under Article 50, that there shall be separation of powers between executive and judiciary. And for that, what we did, we implemented this in 1973 when we created an office of district judge. So that whatever judicial power were given to district collector, those powers are taken away. Those powers are given to district judge. District judge will have judicial powers. District collector will have executive powers. That's how we implemented separation of powers. But can anybody tell me one thing? Sir, if the Constitution says there shall be separation of powers between executive and judiciary, and in your first class yesterday, you said we cannot violate the Constitution. Constitution has to be followed at all times. So why is it that from 1950 till 1973, we were violating the Constitution by providing one individual or one institution, both executive as well as judicial powers, because it was explicitly prohibited that you have to do it? How's that possible? How did this happen? This happened because I told you that Article 50 is part of the Directive Principles of State Policy, which we will discuss in great detail next week. But it does not mean that you don't have to implement DPSP. But state is given an option that you have time. Whenever you want, you implement these DPSPs. And it took 23 years for the establishment to implement this DPSP of separating executive from judiciary. Clear? Done? Perfect. But what about doctrine of checks and balances? Do we have doctrine of checks and balances in place in India? We have legislature. Whatever doubts you have, please keep it to yourself for now. I will finish this topic, then I will ask you whatever doubts you have, please shoot and I will answer. We have legislature, we have executive, we have judiciary. Is there checks and balances on all these organs? One argument says yes. How? For example, NJAC. I gave you the example yesterday. NJAC bill was passed by the parliament. That means a law was passed by the parliament. Judiciary said this law is unconstitutional. This law could not enter into force. That means keeping a check on one organ. That is what doctrine of checks and balances is. Similarly, executive is kept under check by whom? By judiciary as well as the legislature. Executive, why are you not providing subsidies to the people? Why are you not providing midday meals to the students? Executive, why are you doing this? Why are you not doing that? Dr. Manmohan Singh, he implemented a policy. That policy was known as first come, first serve. Although that was not the policy of Dr. Manmohan Singh, it was basically the policy of Atal Bihari Vajpayee. But the purpose was spectrum. What is a spectrum? Airwaves. 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, 6G, Parley G, any G. Spectrum is a resource. And how do we need to sell this resource to telecom companies? Dr. Manmohan Singh said, we will not go for auction. We will go for first come, first serve. What is an auction? I will say that 2G spectrum is on sale. Whoever wants to buy it, bid for it. I will pay 1 lakh crores. Ambani will say, I will pay 2 lakh crores. Adani will say, I'll pay 3 lakh crores. Ultimately, whoever is the highest bidder, I will get that money. That bidder will get the tender. That bidder will get the spectrum. What will government get? Massive resources. Dr. Manmohan Singh said, no, we won't need auction. We will have first come, first serve basis. Whoever comes, take the spectrum and go. We won't go for auction. Supreme Court said, come here. What are you doing? Sir, we are giving 122 2G licenses on first come, first serve basis. Supreme Court said, no, you don't have to do that. Go for auction. Judiciary keeping a check on executive. Whether that is good, bad, ugly, we will discuss later. But there is a check in place. Dr. Manmohan Singh was asked, why did you do this? He said, revenue maximization was not my idea, was not even my purpose. If I would have gone for auction, that means all these telecom companies would have to bid highest, which means if they bid highest, they get the spectrum. This cost will be transferred to the end user. That is how the call rates will go up. Data rates will go up. What I don't want revenue maximization. I want tele density, which means I want telephone in every nook and corner of this country. I want data to be consumed by every single person in the nook and corner of this country. That is how I can implement a lot of other reforms, which I will tell you later. What are those reforms? I will ensure that the subsidies are provided to the people in their own bank, linking it with Aadhaar. But at that time, the opposition was the BJP. BJP said, no Aadhaar, no Aadhaar, no Aadhaar. And when BJP came to power, they just added one alphabet. Now, Aadhaar, Aadhaar, Aadhaar. Instead of no, now. But that's how politics is. We don't have to get into that. But Dr. Manmohan Singh said, I don't want revenue. I want this mobile phone to reach to every section of the society. I want to enhance tele-density. And that is my policy. For that, let people prosecute me. Let people criticize me. Let people vote me out of power. But judiciary, you don't have that power. You can't stop my policy. But judiciary said, no, we can. 122 2G licenses cancelled. You go for auction instead of first come, first serve. But be that as it may, whether it was right, wrong, ugly, legislature is kept under check by the judiciary. Executive is kept under check by the judiciary. Executive is kept under check by the legislature as well. Can anybody tell me, how does executive keep a check on, how does legislature keep a check on executive? Anybody? Debates, discussions, motions, resolutions, questions. Why are farmers coming to Delhi again? Let's have a discussion. And pointed questions will be asked to executive by the members of the legislature. Question hour, 0 hour, short duration question. Pointed questions are asked. If you're not satisfied with the answer, I will introduce a motion. No confidence motion, censure motion, adjournment motion, privilege motion, censure motion. So many different types of motions which we will discuss in parliament. It is through these various devices that executive is kept under check by the legislature. But sir, what about judiciary? Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, while debating the constitution, he said the most important office under the Constitution of India is that of anybody? According to Dr. Ambedkar, the most important office under the Constitution is that of CAG, Comptroller and the Auditor General. And the next most important office is that of a judge. And we have to ensure that this judiciary is independent. What is independent judiciary? That means judiciary is able to perform its task, perform its role without any bias, without any coercion by the executive or legislature. So it is not that judges, the way they give judgments, executive is telling them what to do, or legislators are telling them what to do. They are independently applying constitution and various principles to decide whether you are guilty or innocent. Dr. Ambedkar said independence of judiciary is paramount. But that does not mean that we will give power to the judges that you appoint yourselves, that we will give power to the judges that you will remove yourselves. We have to give independent powers to judiciary. For that, there are various provisions of the constitution, which we will discuss later. But we have to still keep a check on judiciary. And how can we keep a check on judiciary? Through appointment and removal. Judges, you will be appointed by the executive. President will appoint you. Okay, fine. Once president appoints you, you have the independence. We will not tell you how to decide a particular case. We will not tell you what cases you can take up on a daily basis. We will not tell you how much time you have to allocate to a particular case. In fact, we will not discuss your conduct in the parliament. Promise. Never. We will not discuss even your conduct. And in fact, if anybody criticizes you, you can punish them for contempt. And I swear we will give you security of tenure. If you're a judge of the Supreme Court, we will not remove you unless and until you will not retire unless and until you cross 65. If you're a judge of a high court, you will remain in office till 62. This is how we will give you independence. And there are various other provisions as well. But we will still have to keep a check on you. We will appoint you, but then if you follow the constitution, if you do your job diligently, you will continue to remain in office till you attain the retirement age. But during this period, if you do something illegal, if you commit misbehavior, or if your mental framework is such that now you are not able to provide judgment, give judgment. For example, I am in the best of my mental health right now when I'm delivering the class. And today I'm appointed as the judge of the court. Tomorrow I turn mentally sick. You should have sympathy with me. But you cannot give me the power to decide now whether you are guilty or not because I can't apply my mind. For that, you have sympathy with me, but you will have to remove me. And that removal will be done by the president himself. But removal based on the resolution passed by parliament. So both houses of the Indian parliament, they will have to pass a resolution. And then this resolution is binding on the president. President will have to remove that judge. So how did the constitution envisage keeping a check on judiciary through appointment, through removal? But when we look at how it is panning out, how exactly it is being implemented, India is perhaps the only country in the world where judges are appointed by themselves through a system known as collegium, which we will discuss again in great detail when we will discuss judiciary. So appointment process through which constitution thought that we will keep a check on the judiciary, that appointment process, judiciary has arrogated to itself, given to itself, and now saying that we will appoint our own judges through the system known as collegium. Whatever names we recommend to the president, you will have to appoint that individual. And the removal process is so difficult that till date, no judge of the Supreme Court or High Court has ever been removed. Not just that. I told you three things about separation of powers. What are the three things I told you about separation of powers? One, if you are part of the executive, you cannot be part of legislature. If you are part of one organ, you cannot be part of another organ. This we implement in India. That means the judges cannot be part of legislature. Legislators cannot be part of executive. This we have implemented. But second, one organ cannot influence another organ. This you can say that we have implemented because judiciary does not influence the legislature. Legislature does not influence the executive. They keep a check, but they don't influence. Influence would have been if the executive is telling if the judiciary is telling the legislature what kind of laws do you need to pass. That doesn't happen. The third thing that I told you, that one organ cannot take up the role of another organ. This we don't follow. How? We have a concept of judicial legislation. Anmol is asking about Ranjan Gogoi, if I have read Hindi correctly. Ranjan Gogoi, while he was the judge, he was not part of the Rajya Sabha. The moment he retired, now he's a normal citizen, just like you and me. And a normal citizen can become the member of the Rajya Sabha, can become part of the legislature. It is that while you are holding the office of the judge of a court, you cannot be part of the legislature. While you are part of the legislature, you cannot be part of the executive. Clear? While you are part of the legislature, you cannot be part of the judiciary. Sorry. That is separation of powers. But what is this judicial legislation? Where judiciary is giving orders, verdicts, and basically laying down laws. Something happened. And I'll give you one example of judicial legislation. Later on, I'll tell you more examples when we will discuss this topic in great detail in judiciary. There was one lady, Bamri Devi. She was a social worker and Anganwadi worker as well, basically a government employee. Her primary role was that she was working in Rajasthan. Her primary role was that you go door to door, village to village, and convince people that you should not go for child marriages. Launch a campaign against child marriages because that was the directive of the government. In Rajasthan, at a particular auspicious time, lakhs and lakhs of child marriages used to be conducted, which is against the law. Basically, Bamri Devi, along with various others, they were tasked with a responsibility to ensure that you convey to the people that don't opt for child marriages. This is exploitative. This is against the law. She belonged to what is called, unfortunately, lower caste. And when she was campaigning in the areas belonging to the so-called upper castes, she was gang raped. Gang raped by 5-6 men in presence of her husband. Matter went to the court. When the matter reached the court set all the accused free. Why? Because court gave various reasons, and sexist reasons. Court said, we don't understand and we don't believe that Bamri Devi would have been raped in presence of her husband, because husband would have tried to save her, but he did not. which means we may not be able to believe that she was raped, gang raped in presence of her husband, because her husband showed no signs of resistance. He should have. That was one argument. Another argument was, we don't even realize, or we don't understand, we don't believe that she was gang raped, because two accused, one is the uncle, the other is nephew. In Indian culture, in Indian sabita, we cannot anticipate, we cannot imagine uncle raping somebody in presence of his nephew, or nephew raping somebody in presence of the uncle. So these were the facts of the case, and we think that the accused have a benefit of doubt. All of you are set free. Okay. One organization, Vishaka, it was a non-governmental organization. It approached the Supreme Court, their Supreme Court. Forget about what the High Court of Rajasthan did by setting these accused free. Let's not get into that. But why can't we prevent, and how do we prevent sexual harassment of women at workplace? Because what Bamri Devi was basically doing, she was working. She was at a workplace. Her workplace may have been a field. Her workplace may have been a bus ride. But how do we prevent sexual harassment of women at workplace? Supreme Court said, you are absolutely right. We will lay down guidelines. And these guidelines came to be known as the Vishaka guidelines. So through this order, judiciary is laying down guidelines. How do we prevent sexual harassment of women at workplace? What is this basically? This is basically a law. But law is normally passed by the parliament. Law is normally passed by the legislature. Forget about the intention. Maybe the intention of the Supreme Court is right. Maybe the logic of the Supreme Court is right. Maybe Supreme Court genuinely wants to protect the women of this country. But my dear Supreme Court judges, that is not your power. That is not your role. That is not your responsibility. You are violating separation of powers. And the same separation of powers you have said is part of the basic structure of Indian Constitution. Because you cannot take away the role of another organ. This power to make such a law is with the parliament alone, not with you. And that is why some people call it judicial activism or judicial overreach or judicial adventurism, which we will discuss later. But long story short, we have doctrine of checks and balances. Yesterday we discussed what is separation of powers, that much is understood. Then what is the doctrine of checks and balances, and what is the system and situation and reality of these doctrines in India today. We have separation of powers, but not a strict separation of powers as we see in the United States. We have separation of powers between executive and judiciary, not between executive and legislature. Then we have checks and balances in place, where executive is kept under check, where legislature is kept under check. But we are also in a situation where judiciary is not kept at check at all. We thought that through appointment and removal, judiciary will be kept under check. But the appointment process, Supreme Court collegium has snatched. And today, President can only appoint those individuals as judges who are recommended by the Supreme Court itself. So India is perhaps the only country where judges are appointed by themselves. And such is the complicated, convoluted process of removal that till date, no judge of the Supreme Court and High Court has ever been removed. Is that clear? Questions, please. Sir, is it not the independence of judiciary as a federal feature? Yes, it is. But independence of judiciary does not mean that you will violate the constitution, which gave you independence. But we will discuss that later. Sir, from which chapter are these from Lakshmikant? These are not in Lakshmikant. Thank you, Abhishek. How can executive and legislature keep a check on judiciary? Executive by appointing the judges, legislature by recommending to the executive remove the judge. If separation of power is a basic structure, then how can a judge become part of the legislature after retirement? You have answered this question yourself. If you are a member of legislature, at the same time, you cannot be part of the judiciary. But once you have retired, you can become part of judiciary. You can become part of legislature. You can become part of the executive. There is no harm in that. It does not violate separation of powers. While you are part of one organ, you cannot be part of another organ. But once your term as judge is over, you can be part of executive. You can be part of legislature. There's no harm in that. It does not violate separation of powers. Then what is the logic of Donald Trump's impeachment? Does any power of him have been removed or not? No, because impeachment alone is not sufficient. You have to convict the president as well. That power to convict the president is with the Senate. Senate did not convict the president, which means Donald Trump survived. So tribunal is an example of executive taking the role of judiciary. We'll discuss that in tribunals. Okay. Great. Now let's look at another concept types of majority. Throughout the course of Indian polity, we will come across a term that this particular bill is passed by this type of majority. President can be impeached by this type of majority. This particular law requires simple majority or whatever it is. So we will discuss right now what are these different types of majorities. So that tomorrow, day after, throughout the course, whenever I tell you that this requires simple majority or effective majority or special majority, I don't need to explain what are these majorities because we will cover them once and for all here. Dinesh, I don't think I am muted. Am I audible? Okay. The first type of majority that we need to understand is absolute majority. And what is absolute majority? More than half of the total strength of the House. Or should we say more than half of the total votes polled. How? Where is it used? We have to elect the President of India. And in President's office, we will discuss what are the qualifications, how the President is elected. But here, just keep in mind that we have to elect the President of India. And let's suppose there are 1,000 votes which have been polled. And you and me, we are the candidates contesting the election. Who will become the President of India? Whoever gets absolute majority. Whoever gets more than half of the total votes polled. Clear? Absolute majority also is more than half of the total strength of the House. And this number is fixed. Fixed in a sense. What is the strength of Lok Sabha? 543. What is the absolute majority in Lok Sabha? 272 plus. That means anything more than half of the total strength of the House. Since the strength of the House is fixed, absolute majority is also fixed. That is why in 2014, the slogan of the BJP was 272 plus. Why? Because if we get 272 plus, then we don't need these smaller parties to support us. We will be able to form the government on our own. We don't need Nitish. We don't need, what is the name of that guy? Jayant Chaudhary. Because otherwise we have to first announce Bharat Ratna for his grandfather and then he will join us. We don't need these people. So for that, we need 272 plus on our own so that we are able to form the government on our own without the support of these smaller parties. Clear? This is what absolute majority is. Absolute majority is more than half of the total votes polled, or should we say more than half of the total strength of the House. If the strength of the House is 400, what is the absolute majority? 201. More than half of the total strength of the House. Perfect. Clear? Very good. Let's look at another majority, another type of majority, which is very simple to understand, and that is why it is called simple majority. What is simple majority? More than half of the members present and voting. As of now, 543 number is fixed. That is the strength of Lok Sabha. That is why we say absolute majority is 272 plus. What is simple majority? More than half of the members present and voting. Clear? Let's look at another majority. Sir, wait, explain. That's why we are here. Let's suppose 543, what is it? It is the strength, or should we say the total strength of Lok Sabha? Clear? Out of them, 143 are absent. Absent in the sense, out of these 143, some are in Bharat Jodo Yatra, some are in North Pole, South Pole, some are at their constituencies. So 143 members are absent. What is now the number? 400. This is the number of members who are present in Lok Sabha. What is the strength of Lok Sabha? 543. Today, Lok Sabha has to convene. It is going to be the session of the Lok Sabha. That means all the members of Lok Sabha should ideally be present in Lok Sabha. But when we assemble, we see 143 are absent. Why? Because somebody is sleeping, somebody is there in the constituency, somebody is making Gadar 2, somebody is doing Gadar 2, whatever it is, 143 people are absent. Which means 400 people are present. In this Lok Sabha, we need to pass a bill. Let's say the bill says we need to provide compensation to the members of LGBTQ community. Any bill for that matter. Or let's say the bill is a controversial one. We need to empower NIA, National Investigation Agency, to carry out investigations. Or we are giving more powers to Enforcement Directorate. Because Enforcement Directorate today is going after whom? It's going after the opposition political parties. Clear? Now, this bill talks about empowering ED more. What will happen in this case? The BJP will ask the political parties support this bill. Otherwise, ED will come after you. Opposition 100%, they will say, in any case, you will come after us, but we will vote against it. But there will be some political parties which don't want to antagonize the BJP, which they don't also want to appear that they are closer to the Congress. Long story short, there is this bill, ED, which wants to empower ED, give them more powers. This bill should be passed by simple majority. What is simple majority? More than half of the members present and voting. The members of the ruling coalition, ruling party will support this bill. Opposition will oppose this bill. They will vote against. What is the majority required? Simple majority. How many people should vote in favor of this bill so that it becomes a law, so that it is passed by the parliament? There will be one set of MPs who will vote in favor, one set of MPs who will vote against, but there will be one set of people who may abstain. Who are these people who will abstain? There are 400 MPs present in Lok Sabha. 100 MPs are looking here and there. If we support BJP, Congress will accuse us of buckling under the pressure. If we support Congress, BJP will send ED against us to do or not to do, to vote or not to vote. It would have been better. We were also traveling, but now we are stuck here. What do? We will abstain. We are present, but we will not vote. We are watching all these people vote, but we will not vote. Why? Because we have made our position clear. We are abstaining from this. We will neither support nor oppose. What is the simple majority then? 300 is the members present and voting. More than half of the members present and voting is 151. 151 is the simple majority. Isn't this simple? But now, sometimes, absolute majority equals simple majority. How? If 543 is the total strength of the House, all 543 are present. This ED bill is to be put to vote. All 543 are voting as well. What is the number of MPs present and voting? 543. What is more than half of the members present and voting? 272 plus. Isn't 272 plus absolute majority? Absolutely. So sometimes absolute majority can be simple majority. But absolute majority is fixed. Simple majority will vary. Vary in the sense there are 500 MPs who are present. All 500 MPs are voting, which means 251 would become the simple majority. So sometimes it is 251, sometimes it is 151, sometimes it is 201, sometimes it is 272. So simple majority varies. And it is this simple majority which we also call as functional majority. Functional majority in the sense, if the constitution is silent, that for this particular purpose, what type of majority is required? You can assume that constitution is talking about simple majority. To pass no confidence motion, simple majority required. To pass no confidence motion, simple majority required. Censure motion, adjournment motion, to pass budget, to pass money bill, to pass ordinary bills. All these things require simple majority. So simple majority is the mostly used majority in the parliament. Clear? Crystal clear? Anybody with any doubt? Just let me know in the comment section if anybody has a doubt. Okay. Now let's look at another type of majority, which is never effective, but it is called effective majority. What is effective majority? More than half of effective strength. So when both majorities seem same, then it will be called functional, or only simple is known as functional. Only simple majority is a functional majority. That means most of the times we use simple majority. And if the constitution is silent, then in this particular instance, what type of majority is required? You can assume that it is simple majority. Clear? Sir, is there any difference between total strength and total membership? I'll tell you. Just wait a second, I will tell you. Effective majority is, if a finance bill is being passed and the finance minister is absent, what happens? Ravi, did I tell you anything about finance bill? I'm taking you to the surroundings of the earth. Don't travel Saturn right now. Finance bill, what happens? We'll discuss in the finance bill. Okay. More than half of the effective strength of the House. But just so that you are not discouraged from asking questions, what your question was, I will answer it. If finance bill is to be passed and finance minister is not there, doesn't matter. The rest of the ministers are there. Lok Sabha MPs are there. If finance bill is passed by simple majority, the bill is passed. In fact, this finance bill that you're talking about is part of budget. And it is the responsibility of the president to lay budget on the floor of the parliament. And finance minister does this on behalf of the president. So it is president's responsibility, because Article 112 says it shall be the responsibility of the president to lay before parliament an annual financial statement, AFM. But on behalf of the president, it's the finance minister laying the budget. Clear? So even if finance minister is not there, doesn't matter. The budget will still be passed by Lok Sabha MPs. If it is passed, then everything is fine. Clear? Who asked that question? Was it Pavan, Ravi? Ravi. Okay, done. Ravi, is it clear? No, this is just to answer so that you are not discouraged from asking questions. I want you to ask questions. And please don't worry about whether the questions are silly, because no question is stupid or silly. Ask as many questions as possible, and I'll try to answer to the best of my capability. If I don't know the answer to a question, I will apologize. I will get it checked and I will answer tomorrow, but I will answer for sure. Clear? Good job. Now, effective majority is more than half of the effective strength of the House. But what is this effective strength? Total strength? This is the question that I think Saima asked. Minus vacancies. Or should we say, what is the total strength of Lok Sabha 543? Let's say we have 143 vacancies. Vacancy can be because of what constitutes vacancy? Let's say recently some members were suspended from Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Does that also constitute vacancy? No. All of you are saying yes, it's not true. Vacancy can be because of death. Vacancy can be because of resignation. Vacancy can be because of disqualification. Listen to me carefully. I am the member of the parliament in Lok Sabha. I am from Wayanad constituency, but I'm not Rahul Gandhi. But I'm from Wayanad constituency. If I die, what will happen to Wayanad constituency? That seat remains vacant because I'm no longer there. I'm dead. So we have to have re-election to get someone else elected from this constituency, because otherwise people of this constituency would be unrepresented. That is vacancy. Similarly, I am Mr. Modi. How I wish. I contested elections from Varanasi as well as Vadodara constituency. Done. And I won both the constituencies. Now, what did I do? I can't retain both the constituencies according to the law, which we will discuss later. I have to give up one constituency. I resigned from Vadodara. My resignation from Vadodara caused vacancy. Why? Because I was the representative of the people of Vadodara in Lok Sabha. Now, when I resign, is there any representative of Vadodara constituency in Lok Sabha? No. That seat is vacant. That means we need to organize fresh election to fill that vacancy. That is a vacancy. Or I may be disqualified. For example, recently, some time ago, Rahul Gandhi was disqualified from Wayanad disqualified from Lok Sabha because he said something for which he was punished by the courts. Although now that has been suspended, the matter is before the Supreme Court. But if you are disqualified, that means you are no longer part of Lok Sabha. When you're no longer part of the Lok Sabha, which means we have to fill that vacancy. That is vacancy. That is what constitutes vacancy. Now, if you are suspended from the parliament, it is just like you are suspended from the parliament. That doesn't mean your seat has been vacated. It only means that you can't attend parliament. Don't enter parliament because you're a bad student. You are raising slogans, holding placards, coming to the well of the house. You are still part of the constituency, but don't you dare enter the parliament. It's like a classroom. There are 40 students in the classroom, and there is one very notorious, mischievous student. I'm the teacher, creating ruckus. Get out of my class. Don't you dare enter my class again. Does that mean that student has been expelled from the school? And he's no longer part of that school? He's still part of the school. So that means when the next teacher will come in, he will again be part of the class and he will again create the same ruckus. Or maybe he likes that teacher and he will participate actively in the discussions of that class. But for my class, you are suspended. You are expelled. Clear? But does that mean that he's expelled from the school? No. Similarly, you are part of Wayanad constituency. You are part of Lok Sabha. It's just that because of your disciplinary actions, because of indiscipline that you have created, ruckus that you have created, the class monitor, which is the speaker, has expelled you from the parliament, suspended you from the parliament. But you are still part of the parliament. That means your seat has not been vacated. Vacancy can only be because of death, resignation, disqualification. In a sense, there are 543 MPs in Lok Sabha. 143 MPs are told, you please visit Bangladesh and see how Bangladesh is governed after Sheikh Hasina got elected again. Please take a look how their parliament is functioning. And they're traveling on Air India. Air India plane crashes. All 143 dead. Not a good sign, but 143 vacancies. When there are 143 vacancies, which means we are left with 400. 400 becomes the effective strength. That means total strength of Lok Sabha minus vacancies. That is effective strength. And more than half of the effective strength is 201. This is effective majority. But sir, we did not understand this. Why? Because sir, this is same as that of simple majority. You are just doing cheating by giving it a different name, effective majority. It is same as simple majority. There is a difference. What is the difference? Listen to me carefully. 543 is the strength of Lok Sabha. Clear? 143 is the vacancy, which means 400 is the members who are active. Out of them, 100 are absent, which means 300 is the number of members present and voting. Now you tell me, what is the simple majority here and what is the effective majority? And let me take a poll then. Let's say to take a poll, I have to mention effective majority. Let's say the effective majority is A is 272, B is 201, C is 151, D is, I don't know. Okay. First, let me also try and find an answer to this. 543 is the strength, 143 vacancies, 400. Okay. What is the answer to this question? Participate in this poll. I want all of you to participate. Don't mention in the comments what is the answer. Just give your answer in the poll. Sanjog has given in less than a second, 0.1 second. Very good. Effective majority becomes 201, which means majority of the more than half of the effective strength. Effective strength means total strength, which is mentioned in the constitution, minus vacancies becomes 400. More than half of 400 is the effective strength. But out of these 400, 100 may be absent. That means total number of members who are present and voting is 300. More than half of the members present and voting, 151, is the simple majority. That means in effective majority, we include all those who are the members. Whether they are present or not doesn't matter. What is the current strength of Lok Sabha? After the vacancies, what is the existing strength? That is 400. More than half of that is effective strength. Whether those members are present or not doesn't matter. We will still include them. And that is why we say effective majority is, this is the real definition of effective majority. What is the real definition of effective majority? Majority of all the then members of a house. House can be anything. Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, Legislative Assembly, Legislative Council. Majority of all the then members. That means those who are the members. Which means if there is a vacancy, they are not the members. If 543 was the strength, 143 have died or they have been disqualified or they have resigned. That means there exists vacancy. Out of them, who else remains? 400. That means they are the then members of the house. More than half of them is the effective majority. If they are the existing members, maybe 20 of them, 50 of them, they are not present. Doesn't matter. We will still include them to calculate the majority. And this majority is required. Can anybody tell me where is this majority required? Removal of the Vice President of India. Removal of Speaker. Deputy Speaker. This is where effective majority is required. Clear? Sir, if absent members are also part of effective majority, but they aren't present to vote, then what is the use of effective majority? Because you want to make it difficult to remove the Vice President of India. You want to make it difficult to remove the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker of the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Lok Sabha or the Legislative Assembly. That is the principle. So, if you want to make things very difficult, you need to prescribe a higher majority. And that is why when we will discuss the next type of majority, that is even higher. And that is what we call special majority. All these majorities are mentioned in the Constitution. This term is not mentioned in the Constitution. That Speaker is elected by simple majority. Speaker can be removed by effective majority. They don't mention this term. They mention the formula. Formula in the sense, the Speaker is elected by the majority of the members present and voting, which means it is simple majority. The Speaker of the Lok Sabha can be removed when Lok Sabha passes a resolution by the majority of all the then members of the House, which means it is effective majority. What about Chairman of Rajya Sabha? Prosenjit, who is the Chairman of Rajya Sabha? Vice President. Vice President is removed by effective majority. How effective? Very good. Special majority. But the special majority, it comes in various flavors. Flavors in the sense, there is flavor 1 of special majority. Vanilla, strawberry, blackcurrant, chocolate, whatever. One special majority is more than 2/3 of the members present and voting. More than half of the members present and voting is what? Simple majority. More than 2/3 of the members present and voting is special majority. Where is it required? Can anybody tell me where is it required? No, not Constitutional Amendment Act. Saima is right. For example, Article 312. How many All India services do we have? 3. Can Parliament create another All India service? Yes. For that, what is the article required? Article 312. What does Article 312 say? If Rajya Sabha passes a resolution, then Parliament can create a new All India service. So who can create a service? Parliament. But Parliament cannot create a new All India service unless and until Rajya Sabha passes a resolution. And that resolution should be passed by more than 2/3 of the members present and voting. That is what we call special majority. Do I need to explain what is more than 2/3 of the members present and voting? No. Why? Because the same way, more than half of the members present and voting, similarly, more than 2/3 of the members present and voting. That is special majority. Clear? Now there is special majority, another flavor, flavor 2. What do I repeat? There is no name. Sargam. What do I repeat? Article 312 or special majority? Article 312 talks about creation of a new All India service. Because we have 3 All India services: IAS, IPS, IFOS, Forest Service. Can Parliament create another All India service? Yes. But Parliament cannot do that on its own. That means Lok Sabha cannot initiate this. For that, Rajya Sabha has to pass a resolution by 2/3 of the members present and voting. If Rajya Sabha passes a resolution by 2/3 of the members present and voting, then Parliament becomes empowered to create a new All India service. Why this power is given to Rajya Sabha? I have told you yesterday. Because Rajya Sabha represents the interest of the states. Rajya Sabha protects the interest of the states. Because these All India service officers, they are recruited by the center, trained by the center, accountable to the center, removed by the center, dismissed by the center. But where do they work? They work in the state. That is why if we need to create a new All India service, for that Rajya Sabha has to approve by passing a resolution by 2/3 of the members present and voting. Is it clear? No requirement to pass it in Lok Sabha too. Lok Sabha will have to then pass the law to create a new All India service. That law should be passed by Lok Sabha, then Rajya Sabha as well, then it is sent to President. Sir, is this only for Article 312? No, this is for Article 249 as well. This is for many articles. I'm just giving one example. Because if I tell you all the examples, then we have to complete the Constitution today. Then what will we discuss in the remaining classes? Okay? Very good. Then we have another special majority. It is same as previous. More than 2/3 of the members present and voting, plus majority of the total membership of the House. What is majority of the total membership of the House? Can anybody tell me what is majority of the total membership of the House? Majority of the total membership of the House. What is majority? More than half. More than half of the total membership of the House. That is absolute majority. So the special majority flavor 2 says 2 conditions are to be satisfied. 1, more than 2/3 of the members present and voting, plus absolute majority. And this type of majority is required to amend the Constitution. This type of majority is required for the removal of judges, CAG, Chief Election Commissioner, so on and so forth. But what is this? 2/3 of the members present and voting plus absolute majority. Listen to me carefully. What is the strength of Lok Sabha? 543. Clear? Out of 543, 43 seats are vacant. That means whatever is required is 500. Out of 500, 100 are absent. Right? So 400 is the members present. And let's say this is the number of members present as well as voting. Clear? And in this number of members present and voting, let's say we have to amend the Constitution. For that, both the conditions need to be satisfied. The number of members who vote for this constitutional amendment should be more than 2/3 of the members present and voting. And at the same time, this should be more than half of the total strength of the House. Or to make it mathematically understood, let's say 300 is the members present and voting, 200 are absent. Or should we say 100 are absent, 100 abstain. They're present, but they're not voting. So 300 is the members present and voting. And here is this constitutional amendment bill. Let's say a constitutional amendment bill is introduced in Lok Sabha. This constitutional amendment bill says, let's add another fundamental right. Let's say right to safe drinking water and sanitation is another fundamental right. Can this bill be passed? Yes. If it gets the majority, it will be passed. It will be sent to president. President will sign. Ultimately, this constitutional amendment bill becomes an act. We have right to safe drinking water and sanitation, a fundamental right. Clear? But for that, what is the majority required? Because to amend the constitution, which cannot be allowed unilaterally, it has to be difficult. Difficult in the sense, it has to have the majority of all the people. Imagine, you are 40 students in the class, and you have to decide whether you want a break for the exams for 7 days, or you want your classes to continue till the last day. It's a very important decision to make. Very important decision, because it may make or break your career. For that, it requires a difficult majority. The teacher says, unless and until 30 of you say yes, we will not have a class till the end. But if the decision is a minor one, should I give it for 10 minutes or should I give you a break for 20 minutes? It's a minor decision. For that, we don't need the permission of 30 students. I'll say if 20 of you say 10 minutes, I will give 10-minute break. Otherwise, I will give 20-minute break. Similarly, to amend the constitution, it's a big decision, because constitution is a document of people's faith and aspirations. So unless and until the majority of the people, massive majority of the people, are in favor of changing this constitution, we should not allow this constitution to change. That is why it requires a difficult majority to alter the constitution, amend the constitution, change the constitution. And for that, constitution says this bill should be passed by majority of 2/3 of the members present and voting plus absolute majority. Both these things put together, then this bill can be passed. And let's suppose in this case, this bill gets 250 votes in favor. This bill, which says right to safe drinking water and sanitation, should be your fundamental right. And at that time, when this bill was being debated and voted upon in the Lok Sabha, there were 300 MPs present. Out of 300 MPs, 250 say yes, right to safe drinking water and sanitation should be a fundamental right. What do you think? Is this bill passed by Lok Sabha or not? For that, condition number 1, more than 2/3 of the members present and voting. Is 250 more than 2/3 of 300? Yes, it is. Because it should have been 201. 201 is more than 2/3 of the members present and voting. Yes, but you have to satisfy another condition. Majority of the total membership of the House, which means absolute majority, which means you need 272 votes. That means out of 300, unless and until 272 say yes, this bill will not be passed. If all the 543 are present, if all the 543 vote, if 272 are saying yes, right to safe drinking water should be a fundamental right, will this bill be passed? Come on, what's wrong with you? No, 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 no. 543 is the strength of the House. 543 members are present. 543 members are voting as well. 272 say, yes, right to safe drinking water should be a fundamental right. So you are meeting criteria number 2, which is majority of the total membership of the House. But you are not meeting criteria 1, which is more than 2/3 of the members present and voting. So 2/3 is not achieved. That means you require 362 plus. That is why we say to amend the constitution, you require a difficult majority. That is flavor 2 of special majority. Flavor 1 is more than 2/3 of the members present and voting. Flavor 2 is more than 2/3 of the members present and voting plus majority of the total membership of the House. Both these conditions are to be satisfied simultaneously. Clear? If it is clear, please raise your hands or thumbs up, whatever you say. But raise thumbs up only once. There are students raising it multiple times, as if you will get thumbs up out of it. Okay, great. Now we have another flavor of fundamental rights of special majority. Same as 2 plus ratification by half of the states. Now listen to me carefully. What is same as 2? More than 2/3 of the members. Abhishek is asking, please explain regarding effect on vacant seats. Where? What vacant seats? In case of amendment to the constitution, that constitutional amendment bill, if the total strength is 543, whether out of 543, 500 are dead, or 500 are vacant, or 500 are disqualified, to amend the constitution, you still need 272. That is the logic. Got it, Abhishek? Okay. Sir, I'm confused about total membership and total strength. Not yet to differentiate. Total strength, total membership. More or less it is same. Majority of the total strength of the house, total membership of the house. It's same. But when we say majority of all the then members, that means you have to remove the vacancies. Or if you say majority of the existing strength, you will have to remove the vacancies. Vacancies, not absentees, vacancies. Okay? Now, flavor 3, it is same as flavor 2, which means 2/3 of the member, more than 2/3 of the members present and voting, plus absolute majority. But then it requires another step, ratification by at least half of the states. And this ratification should be done by, I'll tell you later. There are some features I told you yesterday. Those are federal features. Federal features of Indian Constitution. If Parliament wants to amend these federal features of the Constitution, it not only requires special majority in Parliament, which is flavor 2, but it requires that half of the state legislatures should also approve this constitutional amendment. Then it will be sent to President for signature. For example, if you want to change anything related to High Courts or Supreme Court, if you want to change anything regarding Schedule 7 of the Constitution, if you want to change the manner and method of president's election, and there are various other such features which we will discuss in amendment to the Constitution, where we will explain how Constitution is amended, what is the doctrine of basic structure. But here, just keep in mind that there are some federal features of the Constitution, such as if you change the manner and method of president's election. But now you will say, sir, what has that got to do with the federal feature? How is changing the manner and method of president's election a federal feature? To elect the President of India, we need to vote. But you and me cannot vote. Who votes to elect the President of India? MPs in Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, MPs in legislative assemblies as well. That means state MLAs participate to elect the President of India. What if Parliament decides that from now onwards, President is elected only by MPs of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, which means MLAs will have no right to vote to elect the President of India? You can do that. But to do that, you need to bring in a bill. Since this bill affects the federal feature, once this bill is passed by both houses of Parliament by special majority, you need to send this bill to the states as well. Unless and until half of the states say, okay, we agree with this, we don't need to be participated in President's election, this bill cannot be sent to President. That means this bill cannot be passed. And the states, sir, is UT also included in states? Those UTs which have a legislative assembly, for example, Delhi and Puducherry, you need to send this bill to them as well. And states will have to pass this resolution, ratify this by simple majority. This happened with the GST, right? Why GST? Because GST was a change and alteration of Schedule 7. Schedule 7 talks about distribution of powers. Some taxation powers were given to the center. For example, center can impose excise duty. Some taxation powers were given to the states. States can impose VAT, value-added tax. Center can impose tax on manufacture. States can impose tax on distribution of these goods. But now GST said, let's combine these powers. Center can impose tax on states as well. State can impose central tax as well. And we will split the proceeds. That means you're changing, altering Schedule 7 of the Constitution. For that, what was required? A constitutional amendment bill passed by both houses of the Parliament by special majority, which is flavor 2. But once it was passed, it needed to be sent to all the state legislatures. And only when more than half of the state legislatures, at least half of the state legislatures approved this bill. And how do they approve? They pass a resolution. By what type of majority do they need to pass this resolution? They need to pass this resolution by simple majority. Once this is done, simple, the Constitution is amended. This is flavor 3 of special majority. Now I will tell you the last, also National Judicial Appointments Commission, NJAC. Yes, that was also done through the same way. I will give you a break, but can you give me 5 minutes? We will finish another type of majority, which is very simple to understand. And then we will take a break. Done? Okay? Sure? Yes? Shall I lock it? Even if you say don't give us a break now, I will still not give a break because we will first finish this. Fourth, not less than 2/3 of the total strength of the House. Which is the toughest majority in the Constitution. And we are not talking about not less than 2/3 of the members present and voting. We are talking about 2/3 of the total strength of the House. If it is Rajya Sabha, 2/3 of 245. If it is Lok Sabha, 2/3 of 543. If it is Uttar Pradesh Legislative Assembly, 2/3 of 403. And this type of majority is required to impeach the President of India. If the President is to be impeached from his office, for that both houses of the Indian Parliament, under Article 61 of the Constitution, need to pass a resolution by not less than two-thirds of the total strength of the House, which is the toughest majority to achieve. Until date, no president has ever been impeached. And also remember, this term impeachment is used only for president. Although newspapers will mention impeachment of Supreme Court judge, impeachment of CEC, but impeachment as a term is used only and only for the president. Every other functionary is removed. Governor is removed. Judge is removed. CEC is removed. Chairman of UPSC is removed. All others are removed. Only the president is impeached. The term impeachment is used only for the president. Done? This completes our discussion on the types of majorities. Absolute majority, which is absolutely simple, more than half of the total strength of the House. Done. Fixed. Then we have simple majority, which is very simple, more than half of the members present and voting. Then we have effective majority, more than half of all the then members of the House. That means total strength minus vacancies, only vacancies. Absentees, no, minus vacancies. More than half of that is the effective majority. And then special majority is, number one, more than two-thirds of the members present and voting. More than two-thirds of the members present and voting plus majority of the total membership of the House, which is absolute majority. Flavor 3, more than two-thirds of the members present and voting plus majority of the total membership of the House plus ratification by at least half of the states by simple majority. And then flavor 4, not less than two-thirds of the total strength of the House. Special majority number 3, please explain. Special majority number 3, same as 2, which is more than two-thirds of the members present and voting plus majority of the total membership of the House. But this is required for a different constitutional amendment. If you want to amend the Constitution, but amend the federal features of the Constitution, such as this, you require ratification by half of the states as well. Okay? Is it ratification by more than half of the states? Half of the states or more. Can you please tell the different types of grounds of disqualification creating vacancy in the House? We'll discuss that in Parliament, but if you want to know now, you can be disqualified for holding office of profit. You can be disqualified for violating anti-defection law. You can be disqualified if your citizenship has changed. You can be disqualified for mental unsoundness. You can be disqualified for becoming bankrupt. All these, you can be disqualified if you have been convicted by the court for term more than 2 years. You can be disqualified if you have been convicted for sati. You can be disqualified if you have been convicted under terrorism law. You can be disqualified if you have been convicted under food adulteration and sentenced to more than 6 months in prison. Multiple disqualifications. Some disqualification grounds are mentioned in the Constitution. Some grounds are mentioned in the Representation of the People Act 1951. Okay, so what we will do now, we will take a break. It is 7:50. We will come back at 8:05. And then we will discuss constitutionalism and other provisions. See you after the break. Welcome back, everyone. Those who are present, give me a thumbs up, but only once. Okay, not 6 times, exactly. Now let's look at constitutionalism. And listen to me carefully. It's a very important topic. If men were angels, no external control is required because angels can do no wrong. We don't need laws for them, to control their behavior. But if men were angels, no external control is required to guide their behavior, control their behavior. If government was of angels, yes, we have Mr. Modi who's an angel, but apart from that, if the government consisted of angels, then we don't have to worry about that either because the government can do nothing wrong. They won't punish the people arbitrarily. But the fact of the matter is, both the people as well as the governing society are consisting of men who can do wrong. That is why we need to impose limitations. Right? So the first purpose of the constitution is to give power to different organs of the state. Legislature can do this, executive can do this, judiciary can do this, and then at the same time impose restrictions on them so that they do not take arbitrary decisions. This is what we call constitutionalism in simple terms. Doctrine of limited government. Forget about other organs of the state. Let's look at government, executive. The powers available with the government, the powers available with the state are not unlimited. It's not that the government can do anything that they wish to do. There is a limitation on the powers of the government, and that limitation is what we call doctrine of limited government. Keep this in mind, and then look at something else. Political scientists such as John Locke, Hobbes, what they said government should be restricted in its power. Government ought to be restricted in its power. They should not be given unlimited power. And whether it observes those limitations or not, that will determine whether this government is legitimate or not. Sir, I don't understand. Listen to me carefully. What did I tell you at the start? If people were men, we don't need to control people because they will do nothing wrong. They won't kill each other. They won't snatch each other's rights. They won't snatch each other's properties because people can do nothing wrong because they're angels. If the government is of angels, we don't have to worry about government either because government will not discriminate against the people. Government will not snatch the rights of the people. Governments will not implement laws which are arbitrary. But neither government nor people are angels. They are men. We need to control them. Purpose of constitution is to first give powers to the various organs of the state and impose restrictions on those powers. It's like your dad giving you 1,000 rupee, giving you money, but at the same time ensuring that you do not spend this money on drugs. You do not spend this money on something illegal. You do not spend this money on eating junk. So you're giving money, but at the same time imposing restrictions, which is good. John Locke, Thomas Hobbes, and various other theorists, they say governments should, governments can, governments ought, restricted in their powers. They should be restricted. They should not be given unlimited power. And any government which abides by these restrictions, we say that government is legitimate. If a government does not abide by these restrictions, we say that's an illegitimate government. What is the limitation on the government? Don't discriminate against the people on the grounds of caste, on the grounds of religion. And if there is a government which is discriminating people on the grounds of religion or caste, what do we say? This government is illegitimate because there is a restriction on this government, but it is not observing these restrictions. It is not observing those limitations. It is an illegitimate government. That is what we call constitutionalism. So, definition. Constitutionalism is the idea often associated with the political theories of John Locke and the founders of American Republic. They say the government can and should be legally limited in its powers, and that its authority or legitimacy depends on observing these limitations. That is constitutionalism. How do we implement constitutionalism as an idea in India? Is in India also the government restricted in its powers, limited in its powers? Yes. How? Number one, separation of powers. Separation of powers into 3 organs of the state so that one organ does not control everything. We have legislature, we have executive, we have judiciary. And at the same time, one organ is keeping a check on another organ to ensure that this organ is not doing something which is against the spirit of the constitution. So constitutionalism, which is an idea that governments can and should be limited in its powers. How do we impose limits on these powers of the government? by ensuring separation of powers. You don't have unlimited power. You only have a power to implement policies. Making laws is the job of the legislature. Punishing people for committing crimes is the job of the judiciary, not you, because you have a limitation. You can only implement laws. You can only implement policies. You can only ensure law and order. Popular sovereignty lies with the people. 1967, Srimati Indira Gandhi became the Prime Minister. At that time, the principal contender of the Prime Ministership was Maharaj Desai, who was the senior leader of the Congress party. But when the Congress leaders decided that Indira Gandhi should become the Prime Minister, Maharaj Desai said, how can this Gungi Gudia become the Prime Minister? She can't speak. This doll can't speak. But then this Gungi Gudia became Durga in 1971, when in a war with Pakistan, she liberated Bangladesh, and Bangladesh emerged as an independent country. She was damn popular. And she also gave terms such as committed judiciary. All the judges who are part of the judiciary, you should be committed to the ideology of the ruling political party. All the bureaucrats, you should be committed to the ideology of the ruling political party. Committed bureaucracy. Very powerful. That is why tomorrow in history, when it would be decided who has been the most powerful Indian Prime Minister ever. It may be a clash between Mr. Modi and Mrs. Gandhi. But then she imposed emergency, which we will discuss. So such a popular Prime Minister, when she imposed emergency, because there was a limitation on her government, she had to observe those limitations. She did not observe. She imposed emergency wrongly, arbitrarily. The people punished her. And in 1977, when the elections were conducted, her party could bag only 2 seats in the entire North India. Almost similar to the fate met by Rahul Gandhi's Congress in 2014. But then the difference was his grandmother, she performed spectacularly well in the South India. But be that as it may, the ultimate power lies with the people of India. The popular sovereignty lies with the people. That is how we can keep a check on the government. You don't observe these limitations, we will vote you out of power. That is constitutionalism. That's how constitutionalism as an idea is implemented in India. Rule of law. What is rule of law? Anybody? There are multiple variants of rule of law, which we will discuss in fundamental rights, but very briefly here. There was a time before rule of law where if I'm a black, my property was confiscated. I was made into a slave. I could have been detained. My liberty could have been snatched. Same was the case with women. But once rule of law came into picture, the position became that nobody can be punished in body or goods. How can you punish somebody in body? By detaining that person, by hanging that person. Nobody can be punished in body or goods. That means your property cannot be confiscated. Your land cannot be snatched. Your property cannot be snatched, except if you have violated the law. If you have violated the law, if you have committed the crime, then yes, your property can be snatched. Your right to life can be snatched. But without that, no. That means what is it? Limitation. Government, don't snatch life and liberty of individuals unless and until they have violated the law. That's a limitation on you. Don't deprive people of their property, of their land, unless and until they have violated the law. That's a limitation. So one limitation is separation of powers, because there is a limitation on the government. It does not have legislative powers. It does not have judicial powers. Limitation is sovereignty lies with the people. No matter how much popular you are right now, if you don't embrace those limitations which the Constitution has imposed on you, you will be discarded in the dustbins of history by the people of India. Third, rule of law. There's a limitation on the government. Don't deprive people of their right to life or liberty, or don't snatch their property unless and until they have violated the law. And even if you do that, we have an independent judiciary. Knock the doors of the court and say, my lord, my rights have been violated. I have been wrongly detained. My property has been confiscated. And this independent judiciary will say, don't worry, my dear, you are set free. Your property is given back. Because an independent judiciary is the protector of your fundamental rights. And these individual rights, which are all negative worded. Negative worded in the sense, look at the entire chapter of fundamental rights, which we will discuss possibly on Friday. The state shall not deny equality. The state shall not discriminate. The state shall not deprive an individual of his right to life and personal liberty. The state shall not do this. The state shall not do that. What is this? Limitation on the state. And that is what constitutionalism is. Constitutionalism is what? It's an idea which says the government can and should be legally, through the constitution, limited in its power. And whether this government is legitimate or not will depend upon whether it is observing these limitations. And in India, how can we say that we have constitutionalism as an idea working? Because of separation of powers, because of popular sovereignty, because of rule of law, because of independent judiciary, because of individual rights. And that is how we implement this idea of constitutionalism. Any questions, let me know, and then we will start with the preamble. Any questions as of now? Popular sovereignty means ultimate power is with the people. The real power is with the people. Whatever people decide, that will happen. An academy book versus Lakshmikant, which should I prefer? Lakshmikant. Constitutional morality, we will discuss later in fundamental rights chapter, because right now you won't be able to understand it. Done? Shall we start preamble? Give me a thumbs up, only once. Okay. You want to read a book. Let's say it's a novel. You start with the preface. And what is that preface? It gives you a brief idea of what this book is all about. So if you want to understand a particular book, a novel, for example, you go through the preface, and preface tells you what this book is all about, what this novel is all about. But not just that. It also tells you about the author who has written this book. It gives you insights into the mind of the writer of this book. What was the writer going through when he wrote this particular book? Similarly, if you want to understand the constitution, is there a way you can understand this big, bulky Indian constitution just by briefly looking at some part of it? Preface of it, that is the preamble. And this preamble not only tells us what this constitution is all about, it also tells us about the minds of those who drafted this constitution. And that is a question which was once asked in the prelims examination. Which of the following is used to unlock the minds of those who drafted the constitution? And that answer is preamble. Why? Because if the constitution talks about liberty, equality, fraternity, dignity of an individual, that means those who wrote this constitution, they were the believers of equality. They were the believers of liberty, fraternity, justice. So to unlock the minds of those who drafted this constitution, go through the preamble. To understand what is the constitution all about, go through the preamble. And preamble is the philosophy of the constitution. What do we mean by philosophy? Anybody? What is philosophy? It's not an idea, not even summary. What is philosophy? A sense, perceived notion, logic behind something, a sense, way of life, belief. Okay. Anything else? Anyone else? Doctrine, philosophy, sir. Okay. Theories. Yes, keep on telling me. Philosophy is 1 minute. I understand, Dinesh, that was just humor. I understand you wrote, sir, then 1 minute. I could relate to it. Let's put it this way. You are my student. And you're asking me, for example, one student asked me right now, sir, Lakshmikant book or an academy book, which one should I follow? What did I reply? Lakshmikant. Why? Because number one, I don't want to mislead you ever. Second, I don't want you to waste your time. That doesn't mean an academy book is a waste of time. It only means even if you read an academy book or any other book, you still have to read Lakshmikant. So if you have to read Lakshmikant, then why follow other books? It's a waste of time. Why I'm telling you this? Because that's my philosophy. I don't want to mislead you. That is my life's basic purpose, how I take decisions. Similarly, is this constitution that we have created, is it for rich or poor? Is this constitution for the government or for the people? Is this constitution for the upper castes or lower castes? Is this constitution going to make India prosperous or take India backwards? What is the philosophy of this constitution? That we will come to know in preamble. And for that, we need to understand what the Supreme Court has said. Preamble, what it does, it sets out the ideals and goals which the makers of the constitution intend to achieve through this constitution. Why did we give ourselves a constitution? Because we want to reach somewhere. We want to implement something. What is it that we want to implement through this constitution? What is our goal? What is our purpose? What is the basic motive why we have this constitution? That is mentioned in the preamble. Whatever it is, whether it is equality, liberty, justice, fraternity, whatever is your objective. If you want to understand what are the ideals, what are the goals, what are the objectives that the makers of the constitution want to achieve through this constitution, for that you just have to read one paragraph or one page, and that is the preamble. Golaknath case versus State of Punjab, 1967. Supreme Court said, in nutshell, preamble contains the ideals and the aspirations of the constitution. Then, in Berubari Union case, you don't have to understand these cases in detail, not required. Unless and until a case is required, we will not discuss, we will not waste time. But once you cite these cases, it becomes important. You get more marks in your exam. And this was the question asked in the prelims exam. Which of the following is the key to open the minds of the makers? Because the mind of the maker of the constitution is now closed. You can't get into that. For that, do you have a key to unlock it so that you can understand what was going on in the minds of those who drafted this constitution? For that, just go through the preamble. But this preamble, it is based on objectives resolution which was moved by Pandit Nehru in the Constituent Assembly, and it was adopted by the Constituent Assembly on 22nd January 1947. What is this objectives resolution? 9th of December 1946, Constituent Assembly met for the first time. What was the purpose? The purpose was to draft the constitution for the independent India. Even before this constitution, we had laws such as Government of India Act 1935, Government of India Act 1919, Indian Councils Act 1909. So many different laws were passed. All those would be covered in modern history. So in modern history, we will talk about Charter Act, Regulating Act, Indian Councils Act, Government of India Act. All these acts would be discussed in modern India because that is more relevant from the Indian history point of view. But when this Constituent Assembly was met for the first time, what was the purpose? The purpose was to draft the constitution. Pandit Nehru, he was a writer. He came up with an objectives resolution saying, what is the objective that we want to achieve by writing this constitution? What are we trying to achieve through this constitution? What is the objective? For that, he wrote a beautiful document. That document was adopted by the Constituent Assembly on January 22nd, 1947. And the same document, with changes here and there, became the preamble. So preamble is based on the objectives resolution, which was moved and adopted by the Constituent Assembly, moved by Pandit Nehru, adopted by Constituent Assembly on January 22nd, 1947. But now, let's look at what this preamble is all about. But for that, let me recap. What is a preamble? Some say it is the identity card of the Constitution. That's what constitutional expert Nani Palkhiwala said. Preamble is the identity card of the Constitution. Preamble reflects the philosophy of the Constitution. Preamble is like the preface of a book, which is the Constitution. Preamble in nutshell contains the goals and the aspirations of the Constitution. Preamble is like the key to unlock the minds of those who drafted the Constitution. Preamble in a nutshell reflects the ideals and goals of the Constitution. And this preamble is based on the objectives resolution. But what is this preamble all about? We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens justice, liberty, equality, fraternity, dignity of an individual. And when we look at this preamble, we can break it into 4 parts. One tells us what is the source of authority. If Constitution has an authority, from what source does the Constitution derive its authority? For example, Mr. Modi has an authority. From what source does he derive that authority? From the rules? From the Constitution? If this Constitution derives its authority, where does it derive its authority for? That's number 1. That preamble tells us. Preamble also tells us about the nature of the Indian state. What is that nature? I don't know if you've watched that movie, Malamal Weekly. Fantastic comedy. And their role played by Arbaz Khan. He was a lottery inspector. He wanted to take the signature of Anthony. But Anthony's dead. And now Om Puri is now imitating Anthony. And Arbaz Khan is told that my brother, Anthony's sister, is telling Arbaz Khan that my brother is having lunch. Couldn't come on time. He is now angry. Now, suddenly you hear that Om Puri is taking a shower, taking a bath. And then Arbaz Khan comes, meets, says, often people do the reverse. They first take a bath and then eat lunch. And Anthony's sister says, Mera bhai bilkul seedha hai. That's the nature. Somebody is calm. Somebody is angry. Somebody is to the point. Somebody is backbiting all the time. That's the nature. Somebody is corrupt, morally corrupt. Somebody is incorruptible. No matter what you do, you can't corrupt that individual. Varies. What is the nature of Indian state? Will it be monarchy or will it be dictatorship? Or will it be democratic? Will it be sovereign or will it be just like New Zealand or Australia under the control of England, or Canada under the control of England Queen? That nature is reflected in the preamble. That's number two. Number three, preamble tells us what are the objectives of the Constitution. What is it that we want to achieve through this Constitution? And number four, preamble tells us the date on which the Constitution was adopted. These are the four things that preamble tells us. Let's focus on number one, we the people. What is the source of authority? The ultimate sovereignty, as I told you, the popular sovereignty lies with the people. So if this Constitution has an authority, wherein it creates executive, legislature, judiciary, where it talks about fundamental rights and directive principles, where it gives power to the Election Commission of India or CAG, from where does this Constitution derive its power, derive its authority? It derives its authority from the people of this country, because the Constitution starts with we the people of India, just like American Constitution starts with we the people of United States of America. Our preamble starts with we the people. That means this Constitution is the gift of the people of this country to themselves. This Constitution is not the gift of a foreign power. This Constitution is not the gift of the United Nations. If this Constitution has some authority, it derives its authority from the people of India, because ultimate sovereignty, popular sovereignty, lies with the people of India. We the people. Clear? We will now look at the last part, the date of adoption. Preamble also talks about the date of adoption, which is 26 November 1949. And then we have the date of enactment, when the Constitution was enacted, and that is 26th January 1950. It is this date which is celebrated as the Constitution Day. Sir, we know this. Why are you telling all of this? Because, my dear, the question has been asked. And it is this day which is celebrated as the Republic Day. Long story short, Constitution tells us the date on which the Constitution, preamble tells us the date on which the Constitution was adopted. It's mentioned here. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution. That means Constitution, preamble tells us the date on which the Constitution was adopted. But it did not enter into force on this day. It entered into force on 26th January 1950. Why? There is a history to it. When Indian National Congress was formed in 1885, the basic purpose of the Congress Party was, we don't need independence, although we need it, but we won't ask for independence now. We will ask for incremental changes. In a sense, first we have to tell the people that you are under a foreign country. They are not even aware that they are governed by an alien government. They are under foreign rule. So first we need to educate these people. We will ask British, more Indians should be recruited to Indian civil services. We will ask British that more Indians should be elected or nominated to the legislatures. That was the demand of the Congress Party. Then came Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lokmanya Tilak, and Annie Besant. And what they basically asked, they asked for home rule. Lokmanya Tilak, for example, asked for Purna Swaraj. You might have read his statement. Swaraj is my birthright and I must have it. He was not talking about independence. He was not talking about complete independence. He was talking about home rule. Home rule in the sense, we will be under Queen. Ultimate power will be with the Queen. But please allow Indians to make laws for themselves so that we can govern our people based on our own laws. British Parliament should not make laws for us. But our ruler, our governor would be the Queen. Queen would control everything. But then this Congress Party got dominated by aggressive young people who were oriented towards the left, such as Subhash Chandra Bose, such as Pandit Nehru. And they said, what are you asking for? Simon Commission also has come. They had promised home rule. They have not provided. Let's ask for complete independence. Congress said, no, not now. We have to do it step by step. Not now, not now. Let's ask for home rule. Let's ask for dominion status. Congress Party left-wing leaders, such as Pandit Nehru, such as Subhash Chandra Bose, they said, we will give you 1 year. If in 1 year you cannot convince the Britain that give us dominion status, give us self-rule, then we will ask for complete independence. The year was 1929. A historic session was conducted at Lahore, because every year Congress Party would meet in December on the banks of River Ravi at Lahore. In 1929, the Congress Party passed a resolution asking for what? Purna Swaraj, complete independence. And as a symbolic gesture, the year was 1930. particularly 26th January 1950, which was symbolically celebrated as the Independence Day. It was on this day that the national flag was hoisted on top of different institutions in India. So this day, 26th January, has a significance in history because it was on this day, for the first time in 1950, Independence Day was celebrated after the passage of the Purna Swaraj. Pandit Nehru told the Constituent Assembly members, is our constitution ready? Members said yes. Can we adopt this? Yes, we will adopt this on 26th November 1949. But can we please implement this constitution sometime later on 26th January 1930? Because I want people later to also talk about this date and understand the significance of this date, because this was the date when we celebrated the Independence Day. And Pandit Nehru proved to be right, because even today, we are discussing the historic events of the Lahore session of 1929, which was presided over by Pandit Nehru. So although the constitution was ready and adopted on 26th November 1949, which is now celebrated as the Constitution Day, but it was enacted, it entered into force on 26th January 1950, celebrated as the Republic Day. So two things, 2 out of 4 things that preamble talks about. One, the ultimate sovereignty lies with the people, we the people of India. Second, it tells us the date on which the constitution was adopted. Third, it tells us what is the nature of the Indian state. And what is the nature of Indian state? Number one, we are sovereign. What do we mean by sovereignty? We can take a decision. We can revoke that decision without any interference by any other foreign country. We want to have free trade agreement with ASEAN countries. We want to have, or we want to give 250 megawatts of electricity to Bangladesh. That's our independent decision. No other country can influence us. Our position on Ukraine is that Russia and Ukraine both should come together and sort out whatever issues they have so that the bloodshed comes to an end. If we want to pass GST in India, or if we want to pass the farm laws in India, or if we want to change the colonial laws in India, we can take any decision, we can unmake any decision without any interference by any foreign country. That is what we call sovereignty. But you tell me one thing. WTO, World Trade Organization, it tells India how and what percentage of subsidies can you provide to the farmers. It tells us what is the amount of stock, grains that you can stock. And if we don't follow it, we may be penalized. Action can be taken against us by WTO. Then how can we say that we are sovereign? Where the way we give decisions, where we make decisions, how we give subsidies, the WTO or international organizations can interfere. How are we sovereign then? Can anybody answer this question? Yes. Our joining WTO was our sovereign decision. If we would not have joined that organization, we would not have been abiding by those rules and regulations. Joining WTO is our independent decision. We can even come out of WTO. In a sense, I want to go to a golf course. It's my independent decision. Can anybody force me to come and play golf? No. I want to go, or I may not want to go. But once I go, there I need to wear a polo t-shirt. There is a dress code. I can't go there and play in shorts. They won't allow me. And I can't tell them that, how dare you not allow me to play golf in the language I want to play, in the attire I want to play. No, I have to abide by the rules. Similarly, joining WTO was our independent decision. But now, since you are part of that organization, you have to abide by those rules and regulations. You may want to come out of WTO at any point in time. Donald Trump, the maverick president that he was, he came out of the Paris climate deal because they are sovereign. They can join a treaty, they can come out of treaty. The world has been forcing us, particularly United States, that please sign CTBT or NPT, Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, or Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. It's our independent decision. We won't join it. We won't sign it. Do whatever you want to do. That is sovereignty. So Constitution says in preamble that the nature of the Indian state is, first, that you are sovereign, where you can make any decision, you can unmake any decision without the interference of any foreign country. What are you? You are sovereign. Next nature is you are democratic. What is democracy? Don't give me that Abraham Lincoln's definition of government: by the people, for the people, of the people. Basically, you can say it is ruled by people, not ruled by a king, not ruled by the dictator, not ruled by a monarch. We are going to be democratic. We will remain democratic. That is our nature. And Supreme Court said in R.C. Podial versus Union of India, 1994, Constitution ensures creation of a government, existence of government at the will of the people. If the people want, UPA will come to power. If the people want, NDA will come to power. If the people of India want, India will come to power. If the people of India want, NDA will come to power through elections. And this democracy is basically people's power and equal participation of all citizens in the polity. Do we deny right to vote to women? We don't. Do we provide right to vote only for those who have property, wealth, business, or for anybody? Do we provide right to vote only for those who are educated or also for those who are illiterate? Everybody. That is equal participation of people in polity. That is democracy. And that is the nature of Indian state. So the nature of Indian state is, first, we will be sovereign. We will be democratic. We will be republic. And what is republic? I told you yesterday. The head of the state is not a hereditary position. The head of the state is an elected individual. Is Britain a democracy? Yes, it is. Is Britain a constitutional democracy? Yes, it is. They have a constitution, although it is unwritten, but they have a constitution. They are a democracy as well. But is Britain a constitutional republic? No. We say Britain is constitutional monarchy. Because the head of the state, who can be a king or a queen, is a hereditary position, hereditary monarch. That is republic, where the head of the state is elected. But not just this. This is not only the definition of republic. Head of the state, this office is open to all without discrimination. Republic does not only mean that the head of the state is an elected individual, not a hereditary monarch. Republic also means that this office is open to all. Whoever wants to contest election to the post of the president, you are free to do that without any discrimination. That is also what republic is. So republic is one nature. Sovereign is another nature. Democratic is another nature. These were the only three kinds mentioned in the preamble, in the original preamble, as it stood on 26 January 1950. But the year was 1976. 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act was passed. And because of this constitutional amendment, the words secular, socialist, and integrity of, these three were the words mentioned in the Constitution, added to the Constitution, amended to the preamble. So on 26 January 1950, the preamble read, "We the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign democratic republic." But it was in 1976 where two more natures were added to the preamble, socialist, secular. One more objective was mentioned, integrity. That's how the preamble was amended in the year 1976. We have discussed sovereign, we have discussed republic, we have discussed democratic. Once we meet tomorrow, we will understand what is socialist, what is secular. Is India secular? Is India socialist? And then we will look at what are the different objectives of the Constitution. And then we will look at some of the important points regarding preamble. And then tomorrow we will start with union and its territory. Now, any questions that you have, please let me know. We have 6 minutes to end the class. We will discuss questions and see you tomorrow. Output-oriented session, okay. Second case of special majority, more than 2/3 of the members present and voting, plus majority of the total membership of the House. Please define leftist. Leftist, they believe in more involvement of the state. State in the sense, they're anti-America, they're anti-capitalism. That means they don't want the corporates to control the wealth in India. They want this wealth to be distributed amongst the people. Their economic policy is such that they don't want profit maximization. They want to impose a limit on that so that rich do not become richer and the poor do not remain poorer. So the money from the rich should be distributed amongst the poor. Congress is not a leftist party. Congress is centrist because look at the economic reforms of 1990 implemented by the Congress government. What was the recent newspaper regarding preamble? We will discuss that tomorrow. We have not completed preamble. I'll tell you. Subramaniam Swamy is one of the petitioners in that case. Basically, they're asking the Supreme Court to strike down, saying secular and socialist, which were not originally mentioned in the Constitution, should not have been amended and should not have been read into the preamble. Because if the preamble was adopted on, Constitution was adopted on 26 November 1949, after that you can't change the preamble. That is the logic given by Dr. Swamy. But whether the courts will agree or not, we will have to wait and watch. Only Lakshmikant you will have to follow. Lakshmikant plus class notes plus current affairs. Sir, about yesterday's class, doesn't in unwritten constitution pensions leave room for loopholes? It does, but then these countries are also mature politically. So that is why we don't see a clash there as against India. When will you start current affairs session? I told you yesterday, in a couple of weeks, we will start with current affairs live classes every Tuesday and Thursday. We are to be adjusted or a new status to be created. What majorities does it require? Simple majority. Sir, shall we leave? If you don't have any doubt, please leave. We have 2 minutes to answer the doubts of the students. Then we will end the class and we will meet tomorrow, 6 o'clock in the morning. Those of you who understood today's class, let me take a poll. Don't mention now. Let me take a poll. Understood? Yes. Understood? No. Understood? I can't say now. Those who have understood say yes. Those who have not say no. Those who can't say, mention C. D is not an option. Even then people are... Okay. D are legends. The removal of Chief Justice or Attorney General requires special majority, same as President. If you have to remove Attorney General, you don't require any majority, because Attorney General can be removed by the President at any point in time. For that, you don't need to take Parliament's route. Parliament is not involved in the removal of the President, in the removal of the Attorney General. If you have to remove Chief Justice of India, for that we require flavor 2 of special majority, which is 2/3 of the members present and voting plus absolute majority, which is not the same as that of President. Because to impeach the President, you need not less than 2/3 of the total membership of the House, total strength of the House. Doctrine of pleasure means, let's say this class is organized on the doctrine of pleasure, which means whenever I decide, the class will be conducted. Sometimes 6 o'clock, sometimes 6 p.m., sometimes 10 o'clock, sometimes class will not be conducted. So that is my pleasure. Whenever I decide, whenever I want, the class will be conducted. Doctrine of pleasure in the sense, Prime Minister holds office during the pleasure of the President. Governor holds office during the pleasure of the President, which means governor can be appointed by President. Governor can be removed by the President at any point in time. Governor can be transferred from one state to another state at any point in time. Governor can be sacked at any point in time. That means governor holds office during the pleasure of the President. As long as President is satisfied, governor continues. But President of India is a rubber stamp. So it is not the personal pleasure of the President. It's the pleasure of the Council of Ministers and the Prime Minister. Sir, if I missed yesterday's class, is it important or should I continue from today onwards? Please watch that class of yesterday. But judiciary is a federal character. Why not states' consent required while removing Chief Justice? Judiciary is not a federal character in a sense. To appoint them, to remove them, that does not come under federal principle. But if you want to make changes to their powers, to the powers of the High Court specifically, then that requires a constitutional amendment which needs ratification by the states. Is there a country which is having complete constitutionalism? Unfortunately, no. But that's a utopia. You need to move in that direction. Okay, thank you so much for staying with me for the entire 3 hours. I'll see you tomorrow, 6 o'clock in the morning. Till then, have a great time. Bye-bye. All the best.